So I'm scrolling through my Facebook comments inside of the special education inner circle group, and I see a question from a parent that asked me, should my child who has an IEP be cleaning the lunchroom tables? See, she was telling me that she had this wonderful IEP meeting and she was so very excited because everybody seemed to be on the same page on just about everything. So, she goes through the meeting, she gets a copy of the IEP, she's discussing with the team what's, going to be happening during her child's school day, and she finds out that part of her child's routine is going to be to clean up the lunchroom. Now, she has another child who does not have an IEP, and she's never heard of such a thing. My other child did not clean the lunchroom. Why would my child who receives special education services have to clean the lunchroom? She's questioning it. And then she's questioning herself, like, well, maybe I'm the one who's wrong. Maybe this is what happens in special education. Yeah, in like the 1970s and 80s, right? That is not what special education is today, or at least it shouldn't be. For those of you that might be new here, welcome. My name is Catherine. I have been working in the special education field professionally for 25 years. And situations like this come up all the time, and they have been coming up for decades. I have a brother who has Down syndrome, and I watched my parents navigate the special education system, and that really motivated me to become a special education teacher. And I spent some years in the classroom. But for the past few decades, I've actually been working with you directly as parents and teachers building IEPs that work in the real world. I'm always talking about how we have to build IEPs that make sense to prepare our students for further education, employment, and independent living. I didn't make that up. That's actually part of Ideal Law inside of the purpose and findings. Now, I'm not a lawyer. I don't give you legal advice. I just tell you where to look to find all the good stuff. Right? So we're supposed to be preparing a child for further education, employment, and independent living, which a lot of times it brings up this concept of life skills. And then when we say life skills, schools will often say things like, so the life skills classroom or the special education classroom will then go into the lunchroom and empty all the garbage cans and wipe down the tables because we're teaching them life skills. No. Okay. Unless everybody in the school has that task. Okay. So there's the exception. The exception is if this is a school community that as a student body, everybody takes turns cleaning the lunchroom, then that would be participating as equal members of the community. Correct? But if only the students who are in special education are assigned to cleaning the lunchroom, then they are not equal members of that student body. And that is not inappropriate education. Again, it's not just students who have IEPs that need to learn how to wipe tables. So if we really believe that this is a life skill that is needed to prepare a child for further education, employment, and independent living, then cleaning up in the lunchroom, wiping down the tables, emptying the garbage cans, going around and doing recycling, whatever those things are, those chores throughout the school, if those are so important for the future, then all students should be doing them. And if all students are not doing them, then we don't assign it to the students who already have so much on their plate. Our students in special education are working so hard to reach goals that quite honestly come naturally and easily to many other students. They are already working hard. We do not need to put chores on top of their day. Again, unless it is part of them being part of the student body equal to other team members. There are so many other ways that we can teach skills. So what are we looking at when we're looking at, we're teaching them life skills? I want you to break that down. So let's look at wiping the lunchroom table. What is that teaching them? Is it teaching them something? Absolutely. I'm not saying it's not teaching them anything. Following directions, we can do that in other ways. Fine motor skills, gross motor skills, we can do that in other ways. Is it teaching them to be responsible and clean up after themselves? We can do that in other ways too. So any skill that can be taught by cleaning up the lunchroom, cleaning up after your peers, can actually be taught in other ways. So I want you as a parent and as an educator to remember that this is not the 1980s anymore, and special education does not need to be done before done now like it was before. Okay? It just doesn't. You need to level up your thinking. So again, you want to build a community body that all helps each other clean up after each other in the lunchroom? Go for it. Let's do it. Let's just make that an appropriate task for everybody. And if you're not going to do that, then it's time to value our students who have special education services, to value them and their time and their learning time the same as we do other students who do not have IEPs. I want to encourage you that if you're not in your head yes to any of this, I want to encourage you to go grab a free checklist that I have for you. It's 12 hard IEP questions that you need to ask before your next IEP meeting. This is for parents and teachers alike. Admins and therapists, you can grab it too. You just go to iepchecklist.com. When you head over to iepchecklist.com, you're going to get access to free weekly trainings that I do, an IEP checklist that I've been using for a long time. I have to keep on using it because things like this keep on happening. And we need to open up the conversation to higher levels of expectations for our students in special education. We no longer can do things like we did before. We have to change it up. But to do that, you have to ask the hard questions. So I'm going to encourage you, go grab that checklist over at iepchecklist.com. Start having those hard conversations and get ready, because 2023 is going to be the year where I'm going to ask you to step outside of your comfort zone and really start to change special education. Not just talk about it. Let's start doing it, and doing things like taking off the chores around the school that are assigned just to special education students. That's one step that we can take to start to create change. Remember, go grab your checklist at iepchecklist.com, and I'll see you guys soon.